Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, hello, and I hope you eventually join the family. So today's video is going to be very different from my normal content. I do love talking to you guys, but this video is going to be more personal. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to be talking about my testimony. I'm going to be filling you guys in on my encounter with Jesus. So, are you guys ready? Because I'm kind of nervous and I get really emotional. So, if I cry or my eyes watering a little bit, yeah. I'm just going to go from beginning to end, just my whole experience with my faith and just my struggles. People period might get offended by some of the stuff that I have to say because I do not agree with everyone, and I do have my own mind and I do have my own personal relationship with God. So some people just won't get it, but at the end of the day, this video is welcome to anybody. I want all types of people to watch this video, and I hope that this video is helpful for you in some way. And I can't wait to share my testimony because I just made a rigorous transition in my life with my spirituality, and a lot of people are curious as to what happened, why, and I love talking about this. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to insert a picture of my first baptism. So I did grow up in the church. I lived with my grandmother. My grandmother raised me when I was really young, so I pretty much just followed her around everywhere, and most of the time she spent her time in the church. She did a lot of decorations and she served a lot for the church that I grew up in. And so when I say that I grew up in the church, that just means that my life was really surrounded about being in church. Whenever we would have different activities, I had to join, any type of program, just anything that was going on, I had to be there because I was following her. So when I was young, I actually enjoyed going to church. I loved getting dressed in my little cute church dresses and stuff like that. It's just normal for me. I would kind of consider myself a church girl. I want to say 9, 10, or 11 or something like that. Before I went to high school and stuff, this is where things kind of shifted because I was growing up. I was becoming more aware of myself, doing a lot of things on my own. So around this time, I was living with my dad, and my dad is not really a church person. He would go to church, but my granny was a strict church person. We would have to go to church every Sunday, and then we would have to go to all the services. So it was just completely different, and I just had more freedom living with my dad. So around this time, I'm learning how to do stuff on my own. I'm doing my own hair, I'm dressing myself, I'm just finding my image as a young girl. And so this is where the problems started happening. I don't know if I mentioned, but I did grow up in a black church, Kojic. There were a lot of strict rules, and it was starting to bother me. I remember, and I will never forget this, I had wore jeans, and if you know, especially in the Kojic community or whatever you call it, that is a big no-no. They are so against jeans. Well, when I was growing up, I don't think they're lenient a little bit now, but what they wore were long blue jean skirts or long skirts with tennis shoes. And me, I'm not trying to offend nobody, but that was not my style. I never wore that, and I will never wear that. That just do not look right on me. And I wasn't thinking anything of the time. I didn't know why it was so wrong to wear some jeans or anything. I didn't even have a shape at that time, so I really didn't know what the problem was. I still don't know what the problem is, but that just wasn't my style. But anyways, so I remember walking into church, and I had on some jeans, and one of the church members, it was a lady, she totally went off on me. She dug at me about wearing jeans, and I need to go change, or I need to go call my parents. So as a young girl, that really did something to me because I didn't know what I did wrong. I didn't know what was so wrong about wearing jeans. People don't understand how that feels and I was just totally embarrassed. Sorry, I'm crying. Whew. But I was just totally embarrassed, and it was just one of the most harsh moments in my life. Nobody backed me up about it. People were yeah, you're not supposed to wear jeans to church and stuff like that. And I'm who cares? But it just kept being like different issues. It's so much rules. Like I wasn't even learning anything. Like I just was so over it. Like at that point I was like, I am not going to church no more. Like these people are judgmental. I can't do it. Especially like so young, I really just couldn't take it. It was just so much stuff going on. And I also didn't feel like I fit in with my other Christian peers the same ages. And I believed I was a church girl and stuff, but I just didn't connect with them. Even still now, I don't really connect with a lot of church kids and stuff like that. Like most of my friends are just, I'm cool with a bunch of church people or Christian people, but I have friends who are believers and stuff, but like church people, I just don't connect with them like that. So around this time I was getting older and I just was not feeling church. I ultimately made a decision to stop going to church. I would only really go unless my dad really wanted me to go or my grandmother really wanted me to go, or it was like Easter or something, but I was just not feeling it. You can say like I was losing my faith around this time. And I would say I was starting to experience religious trauma. Religious trauma happens when you have nightmares, when you disassociate with the church and with sometimes with that specific religion, when you have like flashbacks and emotional difficulty due to those traumatic experiences with that. I really don't want to say religion, but the religious people. That's what I was experiencing. It was really the people that affected me and just the harsh treatment that I've dealt with. And it's if you know, you know, and you don't want to know because it don't feel good. And then I started to become more interested in other things that didn't involve Jesus. I really wasn't feeling Jesus around this time, honestly. I just didn't want to just be Christian anymore, and so like I started to discover things, crystals, meditating crystals, and the whole elements. And it's kind of like the new age thing, the third eye and the wokeness and stuff like that. I felt like those things were giving me more comfort at the time, and I felt free. I felt like a free spirit for a while. Like it was just getting old to me. So now we're in around my high school year, so that's when I started going into like the whole new age thing with the crystals and the third eye and stuff like that. And then there were some things that I found out about Christianity, about the historic past of Christianity, especially like white Christianity, and just with America and just being an African American, just some things that I discovered that I wasn't agreeing with. And I remember that people tell me like, oh, you're gonna go to hell and stuff like that. I really stopped believing in hell because I'm like, well, okay, that's how I felt before. Then I just started having a difficult time emotionally. There was so much stuff I was going through in high school. I struggled with mental health issues. It was just a lot of stuff that I was seeing in myself. It was just so much. It was just so much. And so I would just go to things that made me feel good in the moment, you know, like smoking, sex, drinking, partying, like all that stuff. Really what most teenagers do. But I was using it as a tool to cope with my problems that I was dealing with, and that's just not healthy at all. You self-medicate, that brings a whole lot of funk into your soul. I've dealt with sleep paralysis, and that is the most scariest thing ever. It feels like you're gonna die. I'm not gonna go all the way into that, but just some spiritual demons I was really going through. Like people talk about like drinking and smoking, spiritual demons, that I was really experiencing demonic spirits. At that point I felt like I just could not take it anymore, and I did not want to live. And so I had 2 failed suicides, and that resulted in me having to check myself into a mental hospital because I know that that wasn't normal. Like you're not supposed to feel that way about yourself. So after spending time there, I just really started to see a lot of stuff differently, and I felt like I just kept getting signs from God, and I just didn't want to answer to them because of my pride. I remember times when I said in the past that I would never pick my Bible up ever again, and I would never go to church ever again, and it was just so horrible for me. And I didn't want to be like, well, I guess I will try it. I didn't want to because I would have been uncomfortable. And at first I liked being free and stuff, but all that stuff that I tried did not help me. So I basically just came to a realization like I need help. Like, I am messed up. Like, I need some help. I just felt like my mental health was just getting worse. I remember the day that I had like a real encounter with Jesus, and I knew that he was telling me like, you gotta come back. Around that time, because I knew I needed help and I wanted to do better, so I was listening to the word, but I didn't want to go back to Christianity. I didn't want to go back to Jesus. I just wanted to pray to God, and that's it. But it don't work like that. Soon that I found out. I remember I was in my car and I was listening to Sarah Jakes. If you don't know, she's T.D. Jakes' daughter. I listened to her testimony one time when I was just going through some stuff, and she was just talking about like how she was pregnant at 14 or 15 and how she was judged by the church and stuff like that. And I felt like she was speaking to me. Like, I felt like she was understandable, because the Christians that I know, nobody really like talked about their past outside of like, oh, like I used to smoke and drink and stuff like that. It would just seem like just so holier than thou. But it was just something about her testimony that I feel like I really connected with, and so like I would listen to her all the time and stuff like that, just to hear something to make me feel good. I remember I was just so distraught that day that I remember. Like, I was just having a horrible day. This is when I had the encounter. I believe this was 2019, and this was at her Woman Evolve conference, and she was giving a sermon. Just the stuff that she was saying like was really speaking to me. And I was like, oh my, it's time for me to get back, like for real. Like, I just can't keep living like this no more. I need Jesus, like for real. The next day, I had went to a church that I had went to before. One of my cousins had a baccalaureate when they graduate and stuff like that. And so I had went to that church, and I was like, it's a nice church. And so the church that I'm speaking about is my current church. And I was like, I like it. You know, it was different from what I grew up in. I was becoming more open to just listening. I didn't want to commit, but I was listening to the word and stuff like that because it felt good. And I did honestly miss it. When I walked in, everybody was just so nice. And you're like, of course they're nice, it's a church. But y'all don't understand what I went through, okay? They were just so nice. They did not know me. It was so different. Like, even they freaking had coffee and hot cocoa, and you can bring it in the sanctuary. I ain't never seen that before. The service was quick. What got to me was people were wearing jeans. And I was like, oh my gosh, they wearing jeans, they drinking in the sanctuary, drink coffee and stuff like that. I like the music. They're so humble. My current pastor, like, he just dresses like us. Like, he doesn't treat people just beneath him. Like, they were just so loving, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I love this. So during the service, they were coming to do tithes, and pastor over like the whole tithes thing. I remember he said, if you're new to the church, don't worry about this part of the service. Me as a visitor, it was just like, oh my gosh, I don't have to feel bad about not, you know, putting in a tithe. Like, wow, because, you know, tithing is just such a big thing. I felt like a lot of pastors were so thirsty and stuff. I know the tithes are important. Tithing is important, and that's how the church functions. When he said that to me, that was just so different because I'm just used to seeing money, 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 greedy, greedy, greedy in the church. Then they were like, oh, if you're visiting, just fill out your information and like we'll give you a gift. I ended up getting a book, a spiritual book, and I love it. What I really love is when the service ended, they announced if you need prayer, they're gonna have the elders come pray with you. What was interesting to me is that the lead pastor came down as well, was just talking to members and even praying for the members. I went to get prayer, but I didn't go to the pastor because I was like, I don't know him, but I didn't know what none of them, but I was just like, I don't think I should go to the pastor. But I told the elder what was going on. He prayed for me, and he got a bunch of the other elders to pray for me. And then I met this lady who now I'm extremely close to. We were talking a little bit, and she asked me if I wanted to come back again, like on their group night thing, and just to get to know some more like women in the church. I wanted to just keep seeing what it was like. So I eventually went to one of the ladies' night things that they had. We just had a bunch of discussions, read some scriptures and stuff, and we had a discussion on what the pastor talked about in his sermon. I told these ladies my story and everything I was going through and just my past and just with the church period, and like I told them like I have questions and stuff like that. I didn't regret asking them. A lot of it made sense to me because I had questioned God a lot, and the problem with my old church was that when you would question, they would tell you not to question, and so it was really confusing for me. So to have these women just like look, and then it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm glad that you asked this. And it wasn't in like a cocky way. It was just like, I really want you to know this, and I really don't want you to get confused. So I started going to that church. I started being around those women a lot, and eventually I decided to get baptized because I just wanted to be a new person. Like I really wanted to follow God and accept Jesus again. And guys, I do not regret it. I would got baptized probably like 4 times in my life. When I was a baby, and I think I got baptized at my other grandmother's church, and then somebody else's church, and then now. So here's the thing. I really want y'all to understand, as a believer, never